Finance and Operations Committee meeting of Thursday, December 4th, 2025. I call this meeting of the Board of Finance and Operations Committee to order. The committee would like to welcome the audience. Viewers may watch live board committee meetings online at tcaps.net/board. Recorded meeting minutes may be viewed on demand at the same address. Is there any public comment? Obviously none. Draft committee meeting minutes. We're at the approval of the draft committee meeting minutes from the prior meeting. Are there any changes to the meeting minutes?
I just have one question under the transportation policy guideline review section. It says the committee received an overview of the transportation department's new routing software capabilities, which is fine. Additionally, members received a draft of the policy guidelines for their review. I think we were also asked for some input or feedback.
For future reference, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe for their review and to offer feedback.
Sure.
Yep.
And I guess then my next question is, did anything come of that feedback, or are we gonna require now our students, our middle and high school students to use their ID to get on the bus?
That's something I talked to Dr. Van Wagner about, and I think it would be a conversation with the full board about how to proceed. We are operating this school year with having the drivers do it manually. So we aren't looking to, I think it's hard to do a mid-year change. So my recommendation is to have a discussion maybe in the spring about having it start in September if we wanna make a change.
Yeah, and I like that. I think, a committee of the whole, and I was just wondering where that went, and so.
Nowhere yet.
Yeah.
We're just having discussions on what that looks like.
Yeah, so I would just recommend that one little change that we did provide some input, and then we'll look forward to the spring.
Sure.
Sounds good.
Could I have a motion to approve the minutes as amended, I guess, clarified?
I will make that motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on. Bids and services. Music department. Cindy?
Yes.
Good morning.
There you are.
We have Chad Mealans here with us today as well. He's the K-12 music coordinator, and him and I worked together on this project. He replaced Wendy Wolf-Schlarf last spring. So, welcome.
Thank you.
So the music department just has the ability to replace aging instruments and equipment utilizing bond funds, which supports keeping their inventory fine-tuned, pun intended. So their bond funds for music allows them to have quality instruments and equipment for their students, which supports their growth, so. We advertised in the Record Eagle. We received 9 bids, which is a great outcome. And we are bringing this recommendation to you guys today to support 5 of those vendors out of the 9 for a total of 79 instruments to be purchased throughout the schools, for many schools, for a total of $83,319, which does include a 10% contingency and $4,000 included in that for direct purchase items. There were a few things that we received no bid on. That would be the euphonium and the temple box and mallets, and that allows them to go ahead and purchase those items outright. And then we did have extended due diligence to take the lowest responsible bid, which we did. So it's a pretty cut and dry project that we had.
And just a question on the instruments that you'll be replacing. Do you sell those, or do you recycle those, or do you donate? What happens to the older instruments?
Yeah, so one of the things I know that I've talked to Christine about is going through and having a good grasp of what our inventory is and what we can do with those. A lot of those instruments, like you said, people don't like to throw things out. A lot of those instruments just continue to be stored. And so, especially with like the renovations that we're doing in different music buildings, we're looking at like efficiencies in terms of the storage and what we can do with those. There are avenues to be able to sell them and get some sort of revenue from those, recycle those. There are companies that specialize in that. And I think that we'd be looking at doing that with a lot of different instruments across all the secondary sites over the next couple years here with these projects going on.
And how often do you replace or buy new? Just curious.
Really depends. Most of the instruments that we have, they will last for decades. There are some instruments that, I mean, we've had since the 70s and still work. There are a good amount of band instruments that are being replaced, and a lot of the electronics in here are replacements for like electronics and like the choir programs and things like that. A lot of these are also brand new string instruments due to increased enrollment in our string programs across all 4 secondary sites and the Montessori site. Montessori up to this point has not had their own inventory of string instruments, and they've been borrowing instruments from West Middle and East Middle. We've had a lot of fluency between the different secondary sites to be able to fill in gaps, but it's gotten to a point where we can't do that anymore. And if we want to be able to provide instruments for the students, a lot of the string ones are new for that purpose.
They do get an annual allocation, so do they purchase every year or 2 years?
It's every other 2 years,
Yeah.
it's every 2 years.
So they use their annual allocation in one lump sum every 2 years to purchase, so this has been coming to the board for quite some time, for at least the past 10, 15 years, I think.
It started in like 2004.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Are these refurbished at any of them, or are they all brand new?
They're all
They're all
brand new.
And like Chad said, we have been working on trying to get a handle on our inventory. You know, one of the things that specifically with music is this money's set aside for instruments, but there's other things that, to be honest, I don't even know what they own and what might need to be recycled that we're looking at having a better understanding going forward in the next bond plan. You've got some risers, you've got
Shell pieces. for
shell
auditorium.
pieces, and it's a lot easier in bond planning to know now what they need for the next 10 years. It's really hard when, you know, not their fault, but when they come to you and say, hey, I need to replace these now, when the bond money's already been planned out, it's really hard to accommodate that. So we're really looking at trying to get some good inventory, age, warranty, amount we've spent on repairs, so we can have a better system moving forward.
It's pretty hard if you don't have a great storage unit in all your buildings and to know, you know, what you have and what you're using and then sharing between buildings and those kind of things.
And we do have inventories that we track what we have. It's not that we don't know what we have. It's more a situation of understanding lifespan on those instruments and being able to anticipate, like Christine said, the need as it comes up instead of having to kind of do that on the fly. So,
Just like we would do with technology purchases, they have their plans out for the next 10 years. It changes, but we know what they need in the next bond plan, so we're better able to accommodate that.
Okay.
So I move that the finance committee approve the $83,319, which includes the 10% contingency to the full board under consent.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on. Curriculum, Mr. Tisworth.
Yes, sir, yeah. So memo that you have in front of you is to spend the majority of the remaining of the 35M grant fund. So 35M, just a reminder, was a grant that the state had for science of reading-based English language arts curriculum. Ours came to about $750,000. So we came to the board, I believe in the fall for the first chunk of that. We have to have that remaining of that spent by September 30th, 2026. So Brittany and I, Sandy, Cindy have been working with CKLA, going back and forth, getting a quote to figure out how we can get our needs met, what exactly we want from those materials, how they're best spent. The state is very specific on the curriculum you have to use. CKLA is one of them. We kind of got, there's other curriculums you could use, but we're locked into that because of our first grant. I don't know if you remember 35J, but that was the original grant of about $1 million that we bought CKLA with. So these are all state, not competitive grants. You apply, you tell them what you want, and then you're given the funds. Because we're locked into CKLA now, we needed to finish out with that product. The majority of the materials that you have in front of you is kind of, we have some teacher guides we want to make sure that we have out for the next 5 to 6 years, consumables. And then we were able to add on Language Studio. Language Studio is kind of an extension of CKLA that was approved by the state that we can use with our English language learners. So that was really nice to include that. One thing that we wanted to try to include was Boost Reading. So Boost Reading is a tier 2 computer-based program. It helps that it goes along with the curriculum, so we're not buying a lot of one-off products that are not necessarily vetted or research-based. It's nice to have one to go to. Unfortunately, Boost Reading was not part of the state approval, even though it was part of the curriculum. That was not included to be able to spend was 35M. So we worked with CKLA quite a bit for them to include that for the next 5 years for free. That's about a $300,000 savings. And then they also are gonna provide instead, which it was approved, is some professional development where they actually have somebody on site for year 2, which is really nice to have as far as implementation. You know, we just don't do implementation for a year and say, you know, we're done implementing, go ahead for the next 5 years and teach a curriculum. We continue to spiral back with teachers, continue to have the curriculum implemented. So we don't fall into that kind of the same pattern that we did with Journeys, that we started that implementation. And then the reason why we had a lot of materials left over from Journeys, because people just stopped teaching it or they started to supplement a lot. So keeping that implementation going more than a year guarantees those materials are used.
Any other questions?
Well, curriculum put it on consent, so I assume we're just gonna keep it on consent. And I know the numbers don't add up and that they will come back with a final grant
I
report.
clarified that in an email to the board.
Yeah,
Right.
so I'm fine moving it to consent.
That was a motion.
I guess that was a motion, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, or we can ask questions, but I mean, I think the curriculum did a good job of explaining
Yeah.
it.
And this has been a continual, even when I served on curriculum, CKLA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my anecdotal evidence so far is CKLA is being accepted and it's fairly effective so far. We're having good luck with it.
Yeah, it's implemented. The nice thing is that right now you go to any classroom teaching language arts and it's being taught, and within a grade level, the pacing is within 1 to 2 weeks, what we've seen so far. We got quite a bit of feedback after parent-teacher conferences, and we got this last year with our early adopters, is that we're getting just feedback from parents that kids are coming home and talking about what they're learning more than they have in the past, because there's that engagement piece, the knowledge section of CKLA. We often hear again that they come home and they're actually talking about what they're learning. So then those two things, implementation is going well. The data part in the spring, implementation is more about making sure everybody's doing it with fidelity the first year or so. We're not necessarily gonna see a huge spike in data, we wouldn't expect it. Obviously, that would be a great bonus in year 1 to see it, but definitely within the first 2 to 3 is where we like to see those data returns.
And we seem to be exhausting this grant budget. We don't anticipate down the road here anymore. In-service training needed, or and if we do, it comes out of general fund?
Yeah, or Title II. So any other professional development around CKLA, we don't anticipate it, especially coming from CKLA. We would do that more in-house with our English language arts leadership team that we have, that Brittany leads.
All right, well, we have a motion on the floor and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're moving it on to the board for consent. Thanks, Dan.
Yes, sir.
All right, facilities, Christine, tell us how.
Yes, so this is a large purchase of wall-mounted bottle fillers and water coolers. I've been sharing with the board for quite some time the new regulations for lead testing and requirements for bottle fillers and consumable stations. I think you might recall that we had to do an audit by January of this year. We did that audit. We are working on where in the building we actually have consumable water and where we actually make it hand washing only. If you'll remember, we have to lead test every single output of consumable water every year in all of our buildings, which is a pretty heavy load, so we are discontinuing some of them in classrooms for consumable. We will be putting signs on them as required for hand washing only, not consumable. That's a part of the requirement as well. This first big purchase is simply to transfer everything that we currently have in our district to the new regulations. This does not actually get us up to the ratios we need to get to. And I have shared with Dr. Van Wagner, I don't think we'll get there by, the time frame that has been shared with us. I don't think anybody in the state will be. He's been having some conversations with legislators about that. It was supposed to be a funded mandate. We've gotten some funding, but not nearly enough. This purchase is simply for, the actual equipment. Our plumber will do the swap outs. The ones that we need to add to get to ratio, so it's 1 to 100 occupants. We had a long lag of time where they actually explained what occupants mean. At first they said students, and we challenged that thinking that doesn't make any sense because we have other people in the building. And we pushed them for a better response on that. We finally got that it is everybody in the building. So we have buildings where we need to add them. That includes, architectural renderings and a contractor to come in, bust a hole in the wall, get water lines, so it's not, that's a pretty big project with a hefty price tag. We simply don't have it available in this bond program. So if there are more funds to apply for, we'll do so. But that's something that, we're hoping the legislation changes that deadline. It's simply not reasonable, especially with the huge lag of time where they actually explained what the requirements were.
What was the deadline again? That they said you were supposed to have them all
June of
done?
26.
Oh, yeah, okay.
It's, I've had some conversations quite a bit with legislators, and John Roth was in just, last 2 weeks ago. And we talked about it, and it's something that a lot of districts are saying, it wasn't funded to the level that it should have been for what the need is. So I do anticipate they're gonna go after a categorical, in the next budget to, try and extend this. I think in a supplemental, they'll try and get an extension and then funding in the next budget to give another round, as this goes. Cause there's a lot of districts that just said, the state, we submitted numbers and the state came back with a number that just wasn't right for a lot of places. So I do anticipate there'll be something more with that.
And this is a state mandate, not a federal. This is Eagle.
This is Eagle.
Yeah.
And so I feel very good that everything we will have in our building meets requirements and will be lead tested. The missing piece is that ratio. So we will be missing numbers of bottle fillers in some buildings, not all.
And when we say we don't meet the deadline, what's the penalty if you don't meet the
It
deadline?
isn't really
isn't.
clear at all. There's nothing there.
This
so.
entire process has not been clear. I can't even count up the number of hours that ran and I have spent in meetings and on Zoom calls trying to get clarification.
So if the capital bonds funds the 124,383 and then the general fund of the 14,264, and then what if Eagle comes back and increases a grant of some sort or supplemental? Can we?
Depending on the timing, yes.
Okay.
But, I think that, again, it's gonna take us a while to do this as
Okay.
well. So, if something comes in from that standpoint, we know it,
Okay.
we can
Shift it
shift
around.
and go
Okay,
from
it
there.
all depends on the restrictions of the grant itself. The bulk of our expenses will be in trying to get those new ones because of the installation, engineering, and architecture work. So I would be surprised if that's fully funded, but we'll see.
Okay.
So I move that the finance committee approve the $168,227, which includes a 10% contingency, and that we move this to consent.
Second. All those in favor, say aye.
I
Opposed? Okay, thank you.
So one thing I will say is the sustainability committee was really excited about, not have as many water bottles and that of bottle fillers that we can continue to encourage across the district. So just a side note.
I mean, it's definitely a good,
Yep.
the bottle
Yeah.
fillers
It's a
are
good thing.
great.
It's a good thing.
They are popping up everywhere and hotels and
And
airports.
they're filtered, right?
They are, which
Yep.
it is all great. It poses a huge additional general fund, not huge, but it poses more general fund expenses with changing filters, with the lead testing itself, with monitoring, it's all good stuff. It does have a financial impact.
And we get this, like with the air purifiers, same way, like they
Yes.
bought us a certain amount of filters, but once they're
Yeah,
gone,
now we have to sustain
we've
the
gotta do it. This
cost.
is the common thing that happens with the state that I'm always going. If you're gonna have a program, you have to have a sustainability plan for districts and what that is, and it's just always the answer is, well, it's just wrapped into your foundation.
Yeah.
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 Same thing happens at the
Teaching
city
and learning,
and-
yeah.
Exactly.
Bottle fillers.
And at some point, like our custodians keep getting pushed, they're changing the air filter ones, and now they're gonna have to change these and, you know.
Right.
That's the hard part.
Ongoing operational costs.
Yes.
Never accounted for. Okay, moving on. Capital projects, Mr. Twain.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
What we've got in front of you today is the renovations here at Glen Loomis in preparation for students coming from central grade. As you know, some work was done here a while ago to move admin over here. And that work was put in place so that it could easily be removed, knowing that we were gonna have students here at some point. So this contract that we're looking to award is the removal of all those partition walls that were put in place, some renovations to the kitchen, some purchase of new kitchen equipment, upgrades to the gym, some replacement of some exterior doors that are in dire need of it. Of course, there's the train work that will be going on in concert with this work. So we've got several meetings planned for that. We did bid the construction work out through the typical sources. We advertise at Sigma and Builders Exchange, Record Eagle. And that the kitchen equipment that we're looking to purchase, we did through a purchasing consortium, a Sourcewell contract with Stafford Smith. Worked with Tom Freitas on that to get the equipment they need going into that kitchen. So we are actually had a number of bids on this. It was surprising to see the turnout on this. We got 6 bids for this work. And the bids came in under our budget, so
And it's
pretty good thing.
I mean, I don't know if you guys saw the spread of the bids, but I think it goes to show either how busy people are or, I think with all of our bids, everything is costing more. I think some of that is fear of tariffs if they, haven't hit yet, that I think companies are just worried they're gonna be stuck with the increased costs or they're upcharging. I don't know the answer to all of it, but a lot of budgets are making me really nervous right now.
We, the thing I saw with it that's good is that we have several new general contractors that are eager to work with TCAPS too on our projects, so.
At least
It makes
all
for
of,
a competitive market.
all of these seem to be known commodities. That's a good sign. It makes me.
The challenge with this, I was really hoping not to spend this money. The challenge with this is we have to make sure that what they have works for 3 years. And the biggest expense is getting the fire alarm system up to code and the PA system up to code. So they have to actually insert pull stations in every classroom. They don't currently exist because we were grandfathered in. Because we're doing renovations and we'll have students in here for 3 years, we now have to bring that up to code. Which actually, it's just a good idea to do. It's just, that was like the bulk of the expense was the fire alarm. And I mean, we
You
need
don't
it.
need to sprinkle, I take it.
No.
No, but you know, the one thing I will say to that is, well, yeah, we're doing it. I think that, again, having overall in mind our future of this building to use as an early childhood center, there are investments that
Yes.
will be used. You know, a big chunk is that, the gym floor believes in this as
Yes,
well.
yeah.
Kitchen equipment.
You know,
Yeah.
kitchen equipment, you know, that stuff that will be a part of the usage of this building long-term. You know, I wanna stress, these are not dollars that are just being put in for central grade and then they're done.
Right.
You know, this truly is an investment in the infrastructure of the building, you know, permanently.
Yeah, if or when we do something with the new bond to actually do major renovations here, this stuff will stay, nothing will come back out. Even the technology, I think, will be, if it's brand new, I think it'll be fine for a few years, so, especially if it's a childcare center.
And this building has been remediated, I assume, when we moved in here, or
Prior to that.
Prior to it,
was it? Okay.
Plus, since Paul started here, he's been doing a lot of remediation.
every time we touch a building,
I can imagine.
so.
All right,
So anyway, the contract amount for the construction is $660,300. The kitchen equipment's $48,520. The contingency is only on the construction dollars, not on the kitchen equipment.
Yeah.
And that, so the total request is for $774,850 to do this work. We had budgeted, I think, $850,000 for it.
And that 774,850 includes the the contingency?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
It's kind of, it doesn't make sense if you try to add them,
Yeah,
only
yeah.
because we didn't do a contingency on the kitchen equipment.
Okay, got it. So I move that the finance committee approve the 774,850 to be moved to consent for the full board approval.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? We are moving on. Is that Eckler, Denny is no longer there, is he?
No,
Okay, so it's Ben?
it's Ben.
Yeah, okay.
And Ben Eckler is the company that did the partitioning and all the work for us when we moved admin over here.
The other thing that I didn't point out that we're doing that I think is important, we're actually creating an ADA restroom accessible from the hallway. We don't really have, I think you've seen the restrooms we currently have. The current restroom inside the staff lounge will now be accessible from the hallway, and it'll be enlarged with some new fixtures so that it's an actual true ADA accessible restroom.
Are the petitions salvageable for any other purposes?
The partitions are not, the doors and frames are.
Okay, so,
The doors and frames actually came from the shop,
okay,
from other projects, so
Okay.
We
we'll hang on to
actually had
those.
So we're gonna save them again. And
the partitions, are they drywall?
They're
Are they-
drywall.
They're
Drywall and
metal
steel.
studs, okay,
Yeah.
stud
got it.
drywall.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And they're just, they're attached so that they can be taken out.
okay.
Tammy, I don't know on that motion whether we ought to say to Eckler Construction in the amount of, just so we designate who the, so somebody's not searching through all the records to
Be
figure out who the
Eckler and
660.
Stafford Smith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess that's it on capital projects. How about a capital projects update? Here we go.
And again, I just wanna clarify, on our finance, when we do this, whenever the board sees procedural items, these are decisions that we're looking for. I know you've asked some questions and process for us to think about in the future. So that's how we have this agenda, and I think it's kind of what you're looking for in the future with others. You
Yeah.
know, and then if you see informational, no decision, just talking
Right.
about it.
And what I appreciate about this agenda is that every one of these procedural discussion items has a memo to go with it.
Yeah.
And so my complaint or suggestion for last month was just because I was unclear about what we were providing feedback on the policy or the guideline, because the policy didn't have a date on it. So I just think as we become more efficient, if we can just have a memo for a few sentences for everything that you're looking for. a vote on
In
or action on.
procedural, yeah, in procedural.
So, because I appreciate these are five memos that were great, so I come in prepared, I know what's going on, so that's just some feedback that, and maybe that's for our chair or.
I think it's for Scott, and you brought it up,
Yeah.
so it's something I know the board's gonna look at in January, so.
The hard thing,
Reinforce that.
the hard thing sometimes is we provide documentation without the presentation, and so it is kind of left to you to figure out what we're gonna talk about, so that's sometimes hard. I can do a better job when I start the informational conversation to make sure.
Again, I don't think it's too much to ask to just provide like a one sentence, like here's what the purpose, or here's who's bringing this to the board, here's what we'd like to see from the board. I think the same thing happened with TAG, to be honest. There was a circular inefficient discussion that went around in circles, because I didn't know what was expected of us or the feedback that was asked of us. So I think it just, like today, five memos, great, so if there's something like that we can just add a one sentence,
I
here's
think
what we're looking for.
Perhaps I would recommend that we just add it to the agenda. So underneath informational items, if it says transportation guideline, the board will be asked to review the recommended. I think right on the agenda would be best,
Perfect, yeah, that's fine.
if you don't mind.
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, and I appreciate memos in the meeting packet. But if that's whatever the scope and purpose of the procedural item is, like, then I can come in and not waste people's time asking questions about things that I've decided, a year ago.
But just like, so you're good with like, but informational items is just discussion.
Yeah,
right?
just review.
There's not a
yeah,
memo, there's
reporting
not,
out,
yeah, it's
that's
just
fine.
conversation.
Yeah.
Okay, yep.
If we ever have public here, I think it also helps the public immensely to know what we're doing with these. too.
Like I said, I think it's a great discussion to get some uniformity too in January when the board and organizational of how we want these.
Yeah, and we don't have a board operating procedure, so that might be something that, for all of our committees, to just have a standard way of operating.
Yep.
Okay, meanwhile, back at the ranch.
Ready?
Paul was talking about capital projects.
Not yet, I wasn't, but, so, out on Cass Road, facilities, we've got a new storage building going up. enclosed. I was telling Scott earlier, the temp heat in their space makes that warmer than my office out there, so. But this is where we're at. They've got the exterior doors to put up yet, the concrete work's done. That open area where you see the lift stuck in, that's an outdoor open storage with a canopy over the top of it. So we've got outdoor storage, indoor storage protected for our equipment and goods and stuff.
And
And this is the interior.
one side of it, there is a section that's not part of the bigger that will be for storage, of more climate controlled things, like some of our, like none of our business office files that are currently here will fit at Sabin. So those will go there and there will be excess room, so we'll have a conversation probably with music and some others about what they need.
There's a demising wall that's been put up since I took this picture in here that divides the space off. It's all heated, all of it's heated, just the other side's heated.
They're unit heaters, they take up some.
On the one side, they're unit heaters, on the other side, that's more climate control,
Oh, all right.
so.
What is your record storage requirement? How long do you need?
It's different with everything.
Oh, it
I mean,
is?
we've got some payroll records that are like 99 years.
You kidding me?
Now,
No.
You in Birch Bark or something?
Yeah, there's a whole booklet on required storage for.
Yeah, every item is different,
yep,
and it does sometimes change, so we look at it on an annual basis.
should give us a bit of retention,
Yeah.
you know, records and things
Yeah.
of that matter.
Okay,
For
whatever.
every property we own, every building we own, we have to store all the drawings and records for that building as long as we own it.
As-bills I can understand.
Yep. So this is over at Sabin, the windows going in, on the exterior of the building there. And the forest of studs for the interior partitioning, are up, framings going up, the back, the supports for attachments are in there with the wood blocking. There's clerestory windows, you can kind of see the framed openings so that it lets daylight in from the exterior windows all through the whole space into
Oh, that's nice.
offices and that, and the corridor.
That is one narrow hallway.
It appears narrow, it's
It
not bad.
looks like it on here, but when you go there, it's not that bad. I mean, it's not as big as like a school hallway.
No.
But I know I saw that and I went there and I'm like, oh, I feel better.
Once we
It
drop
doesn't
this,
look like it's ADA accessible, is the only thing.
it is.
It is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is. It's-
I trust you.
Once we drop the ceiling in there, it won't look like that.
The angle too, I think. Excuse it.
And we've redone some of the parking and the sidewalks, paving, the base course of pavings are all in. Obviously, this was taken before last weekend.
Yeah.
So, another shot of that. Our bus charging station, the charging station's in, everything's set, ready to go. Consumers is supposed to be out there, December 12th, I think it is. They're supposed to come and energize it all and put it all together, have it commissioned, and then we'll sit and wait for the bus to show up.
If we only had a bus, something to plug it into.
There it is, it's a nice looking unit. So again, and these were taken obviously before last weekend. So out at West Senior High, take a last look at those lights. This is the last picture of that you'll see because they're gone.
Okay, every time I drive by, I'm like, they're still there.
All the old lights are gone and down, the new lights are working, the left turn signals are working. Everything's in place, the old poles are taken out, the guy wire that was stuck in the middle of the sidewalk's gone. All that stuff, it's gone, so.
Of course, you wouldn't know with all the snow over it anyway.
No, you wouldn't. But we are making sure that the sidewalk is plowed all the way out to the roadway. And
Yeah.
that Rob's taking care of that,
Yeah.
Rob Wolf and stuff, so. But, yep, the lights are working.
Seems like the furor has died down
Haven't
considerably.
had any complaints, haven't
I'm
had
sure
anything.
something with the arrow will
I'm
need to
sure,
be
but-
adjusted and we'll respond to
I
that.
know I had a couple people just go, it's nice to have a left-hand arrow that
Yes.
detected me.
Yeah.
It's pointing left.
It is, and in all directions, so,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, I pull up the traffic on this at least once a week and watch a cycle through the morning, cycle through the afternoon. And it seems to be moving pretty fast through there. You know, that whole segment, if you put it on an 8 times speed on the camera, the playback, then you can watch it go and it takes 15 minutes, 20 minutes, empty that place right out.
That's great. And great to see the sidewalks this year, oh my gosh, but when taking my kids to school and watching kids truck through the snow and icy roads, it was always terrifying for the kids, so,
Yeah,
so
walking through
appreciate.
parking lots and across all the traffic and.
And we'll be back at it again next summer.
Yeah, good stuff.
Good, just when it's all died down, you're gonna see.
Sure.
Well, we're gonna fix the other half, it'll make it better, it's the other half, so.
That's what
I'm
we
sure-
said before, so.
And people don't pay attention and they're gonna be like, what are they doing now? Not knowing.
Why are you
like,
redoing what you just did?
Totally,
That's what
can't wait for the.
You just did that. What was the
Yes.
matter with it?
You just
You know what's
modified
gonna
behavior,
happen.
we're gonna unmodify
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, maybe we should send out a memo to the West families
Yeah,
or
we
something
sent a lot
before,
of
I know.
We will.
We will.
So, I put in here some updates as it relates to West Middle School, music classroom renovations, so we're in a really good spot. We'll be going out to bid, remind me, Paul.
It's real soon.
Yeah.
Cause we just had the 80% review drawings, we sent them back to them.
I think we go out, I don't know, 2 weeks maybe? And we give enough time throughout the holidays, for contractors to respond to it. So one of the things that I just wanted to bring to your attention was budget. Overall, we have $14 million for music, and I've been working very closely with Chad. In fact, he has been phenomenal, with helping, compromise, understand what's really needed, focus on instruction and making classroom space better. This one, we were really hoping to avoid an addition, and we just couldn't. So we do have a 1,500 square foot addition, which is the choir room. So our budget's a little bit higher than what we had anticipated for this portion of the 14 million. I'm not concerned about that, neither is Chad. But it is definitely needed. This is, one of the oldest spaces. The program has grown exponentially. And when we talked about, if you could go back, Paul, sorry. We talked about the, storage, issues, and my pointer doesn't work. So,
Down at the bottom there.
Do you want me to?
yeah,
So this is the band room, this is the orchestra room, and currently in between were practice rooms and an office in here. So that's been taken out. This is all storage, instrument storage for band. And then out here in the small theater area, we've expanded this out, pulled it out, shortened the stage area up a little bit that was in the front of it, and created more storage in here, in these spaces this was current storage space, and we've expanded that into more storage for band and instrument. The orchestra room down here, right next to it was the choir room. All right, well, we're gonna take the risers out of the choir room, the permanent ones that are built in there, and create orchestra instrument storage in that space. And that's where the addition comes into on the,
that is directly across from the library.
right here's the library, the media center in here. Right outside of that is the new choir room. That's the addition that's going on in the building. And we're creating a little bit bigger space for the learning center, moving the school store over back to where I think it used to be at one time. And then creating another conference room space in the upper corner of the library.
Just curious on acoustics with the choir room being next to the library. Do they have to do like extra?
Well,
Insulation to
there's a
prevent-
hallway right here that separates the two,
Okay,
and that, so.
So you're
So
opposite,
that addition's in the courtyard.
in the courtyard is where we're building, it's not wall to wall.
okay, got it, in the
So
courtyard,
media
okay.
center,
I gotcha.
hallway,
Okay.
courtyard is where the new one
I
is built.
see, okay,
There is acoustic treatment going on in all of the rooms, but, yeah, this
okay.
is
I
completely
didn't realize that
separated.
bumped out into the courtyard, I got you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I think I knew that, but.
Yeah, the easiest thing to do with this project was for the band room and orchestra room, to not make those rooms bigger per se, but to remove all the storage, which gave us more classroom space. So, that's what we've done. We worked very hard on the number of storage units we need to also accommodate maybe some future growth so that we don't pinch ourselves in the next 10 years by not having enough again. It has really, Chad has really had conversations with teachers about making sure they do their inventory, making sure we're getting rid of assets that are no longer viable if we have a lot of expenses for repairs. So it'll be a nice refresh. Acoustic treatments are going in each of the classrooms. The teachers have been 100% part of this process. They're very, very pleased with where we're at. The small theater does get just a little bit smaller, but there was no concern from the principal, theater, or any of the
That was
music
my next
instructors.
question, good, okay, cause they originally, I thought, asked for more of like backstage or green room space or something with the theater.
I don't remember that.
can't
That was,
remember.
that
That's the
was
high
more,
school.
that was more for, well, that was Lars,
That was
but
Lars, okay,
yeah.
I thought here they wanted something to the small theater, but if they're happy and they're okay with.
they're all 100% behind this.
Okay.
And what happened really was they didn't lose the stage. They lost the space on the ground for chairs between the stage and the first riser. So it was really just stacking a bunch of chairs for audience members, which they don't do big events in there.
Okay.
And Christine briefly mentioned the instrument repair, and that was a big piece of the storage picture for this. Because right now they're storing them in racks out in the hallways, and there's a lot of money they spend repairing instruments because of the way they're stored right now. So they did a lot of work on studying how to properly store instruments and mitigate some of those damages to it.
One of the other focuses too was improving supervision and sightlines. So if you'll remember going down that hallway, there was a lot of nooks and crannies and some big open areas. We've really cleaned that up so that it's one hallway with classroom doors. There's a little bit of a nook going into the small theater, but it's much easier for supervision purposes.
Since I was in one of the art classrooms yesterday, are we doing anything for the art program? I notice we've talked a lot about music. Is there any request for something for the?
At West Middle School,
Yeah.
It was all
we
done.
just
Yep.
redid
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, we
Oh, we
just,
did.
Yeah.
Like I said,
Last bond.
we moved them from the outside building in and we renovated the interior space. If you'd like to see it sometime, it's pretty nice.
The entire wing,
Yeah.
okay, I was in one classroom, so.
yeah, all of that.
All right,
Pottery, I mean,
Yeah.
stainless steel sinks, all the way through there.
okay, just thought I'd put a pitch in for somebody
Yep.
that hit me yesterday.
Question?
Yeah, I just, so that the 14 million here, what we approved earlier for secondary music renovation is
It still
Yes.
the
stays.
same, so
Yeah.
everything's the same.
Yeah.
2.5 for this and what, 14 million?
Yeah,
for-
this actually is probably gonna be 3.5 to 3.9. But again, I've reviewed that with Chad. We had some initial renderings for some of the schools that were kind of excessive, so I can't say for sure towards the end of it, that we might not need more money. I think it would end up being in the next bond anyway, just based on when we can actually get to the work. But we all agree this is necessary for the best instruction at the school.
So maybe next month then this estimated cost here.
Yes.
Can be 3.5.
Yep, I didn't wanna change it until I informed you what was going on.
Thank you.
And when we get the bids, we'll know when we
Yeah,
actually get bids.
yeah.
Yeah, this,
Yeah.
yeah, this
Yep.
This is budget,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
I like to give you a heads up before I just change it and have
I
you
appreciate
wonder.
that. I like this table too. I've said that before, but I
Yeah.
still like it.
Yeah,
All right, are you done, Mr. String?
I am.
Okay, sustainability, Dr. Van Wagner.
Okay, yeah, we were kind of few but mighty, in our last meeting, but a couple key items for you. We have, across the district, there are 3 buildings that currently have solar panels. One, Westwoods, right now, Ken O'Brien, who's one of our facilities supervisors, has worked on that, and that is up working, doing fine. But the other 2 are Central High School and Traverse Heights. They are not working correctly. And when I say correctly, not at all.
Okay.
So what we needed to do is we needed to have an assessment done of what it would take to fix them. We've worked with Keen Energy locally, and we fortunately we were able to get a grant from Cherryland Electric to, they have paid Keen Energy Solutions to come and do a full assessment of those, to be able to tell us exactly what needs to be done. Those are interesting enough, both of these right now are in the Traverse City Light and Power jurisdiction. So our plan for the committee is, once we know exactly what it's gonna take to get those working, updated and online, is to write a grant to Traverse City Light and Power to repair those and get those up and running.
I know exactly who to talk to.
I know you do. And we have
great to work
a board member of TCAPS on our committee as well. Suzanne Tobin, so really excited about that work. And, one of the things we're talking a lot about is, as these projects are done in the future, of having some way to have, a clear maintenance, plan and funds to be able to do that, a part of the fundraising opportunities with that. So that's a key protocol thing we want to put in place of, if we do some of these things in the future, how is it that it's maintained and doesn't just break and doesn't work for a certain period of time anymore?
That's the challenge with,
Yeah.
sometimes we get grants for things and then there's no operational plan to maintain or take care of it or fix it in the future.
And then we had a first draft of a full 1.0 sustainability plan that we reviewed. We're going to work this month to get that tidied up. And my plan is to bring that first draft to the board. I will bring it here hopefully in January. And then to the board for input and thoughts on it. Some just key highlights are that we have every school will be going through and becoming at least a first level Michigan Green School, a part of the project. We have some things of looking at a few pilots across the district for different opportunities as well, and some key data collection things that we just don't have data on, to be able to see what are there, and even some policy advocacy things that the group has, specifically dealing with lunch and what we're allowed to do. They recognize fully, Tom Friedis is a part of our group to recognize what, food-wise, what we have to serve, what we can't just, give away or not give a kid. I think that's the one that, they were surprised at, that under USDA, in order for us to get reimbursed for a lunch, a kid has to take certain foods, even though they may not want it, and so it's not as simple as, well, can't we not just do that? No, we can't, but.
You can't take it back if they don't
Right.
eat it, and you can't.
It gets thrown away, and that's not universal to us. I had a school visit in California a couple of years ago where I watched kids get their lunch and every single one of them take the drink and throw it in the garbage, and throw it in the garbage, and throw it in the garbage, and throw it in the garbage. But that's the realities of what the USDA component was there. So we're gonna do a little study with that, and the group wants to be able to have information to advocate with policymakers at the federal level if there is ability for change. So again, that'll be in that plan, and so plan on bringing that to committee and board in January.
I know that, the DDA was implementing a composting program. Do we do a composting program at all?
No, and it's something, we have, Montessori does, and it's something that we've talked about. Again, there's some labor intensiveness to that, but one of the things this group has been very steadfast is what can we do to empower students? So I think that that's something that we're gonna continue to talk on. The 1.0 are things really get started. I think that might be a 2.0 in the next level after the first year, and we get our environmental groups going and kids, working, on how can we, one of the big things is like, if we can get kids to change practice, we recognize it's gonna be done from a bottom up, from student advocacy. And so getting our environmental clubs, those kids to work with even our younger kids, and a mentor component of some of the sustainability activities, recycling, composting, those kind of things. I think that's something that they want to tackle more after a first year in a 2.0 kind of plan, so.
All right, finance.
I don't really have a finance update. We don't have any new information. We're currently working on, after count day information and making sure we have all the staff placed and all the vacancies accounted for. So we'll be bringing a budget amendment to you in February. I don't anticipate it looking too different from the original budget, which is good news, because, we actually thought it might be worse and it's not, so.
Good.
But there's the 31 AA sitting out there, as you all know, so I've informed all of you on where we're at with that. I didn't hear anything back from the board, so I did yesterday go in and check mark the box for acceptance of the money. And then, depending on the outcomes of the statewide lawsuit, we'll know that hopefully mid-December. If we win in either one of the courts, we only need one of the two, we'll move on just as we've checked, and if not, we'll have a special board meeting to have a discussion.
We have until December 30th now.
Correct.
At least to rescind that.
Correct.
And that will be enough time for us to be able to modify the budget amendment to reflect if we have to take more money out of balance, so we'll
Can
be
you
able to.
remind us how much money we're talking about with 31AA?
About $1 million, correct, Sandy?
Yeah, 1.2.
1.2 million.
And that's with carryover or not carryover?
No, that's straight up.
Straight up.
Yep.
So we're spending more, we plan to spend more, around 2 million, I believe, in this year for those positions.
No, that was the previous year.
You looked at the previous year, which had a lot of carryover.
I see.
Yep.
And it used to be that the allocation was higher, it's gotten a little bit lower, with more restrictions.
So that 1.2 covers all those positions?
No, because now some of them are no longer eligible. So for instance, Patrick's position in the past was eligible under the money. Right now it is not eligible under the money.
What else in there? So the NCAA, I mean, the Community Action Agency, the counselors.
That had to go, that as well, that had to go right now to 31A from at-risk, and so they are in our most at-risk
Well, I
buildings.
might ask a question about where that later, as we,
Yeah.
if need be.
We're not there yet because we don't
That's
know the
right.
money, that's where we're gonna have to do some conversations, but we had to commit to the,
Yeah, I know.
to the NMCAA folks.
Yeah.
So 31A is what we were able to, commit. That's about the only thing at the moment we've committed, really, 31A. Jesse and Dan have a plan on where that is
Okay.
from that, but this is a big kinda like, shell game with this on where it lands for us to determine where the rest of the pieces land.
So this year we did move Patrick to general fund. Last year we had to move some of our school security liaisons because they didn't qualify last year, so they were moved to general fund last year. So it's unfortunate. It started out being pretty open to the district discretion on how they spent it between mental health and safety and security, and now it's pretty prescriptive.
That's the problem, when we finally get that language, it has little changes on what your allowable expenses are. So year to year, you have to look at that, and getting it so late.
Are we able to see, like, this body, the three of us, like, 'cause I saw those allocations for last year, I haven't really seen categorical grants or know where to find them about this year that we've approved back in May?
So in the original budget, it's itemized
So I can go in there and see that?
by category, so it's by function code.
Yes.
So you would see it by instruction, by
Yeah, it's not as specific as what was shared with us as far as Patrick, the NCAA,
Yeah.
the community agency.
there's a lot of documentation there for that.
Can we see that for all of our categoricals?
We've been asked from the board to not micromanage to that element.
I think it will.
If you have a specific, I'm happy to, show you, that
Well,
element
if
with
we're
the
gonna
board.
be asked to make a decision on whether to rescind our decision, I'd like to be as informed as possible about where, because I have no clue, to be honest, and people are asking me like, where is this $1 million or $2 million? What does it fund? What is it gonna fund this year? And I'm on the board and I have no idea.
And we don't yet,
Well, we do, because we just approved the budget in May this year.
but that was assuming we would have the
Estimated,
31
yes.
AA
So I'd
money.
like to see what we estimated for this year.
We have all of the grants itemized as it relates to the total amounts in the original budget. So you can go look at Fund 13, which is state
Yeah.
money. You can look at Fund 14, which is federal money, and it lists every single grant we get and the total
So
dollars
Patrick won't
allocated.
be in there.
It doesn't go down to that level, that you're talking about 20,000 account codes.
Well, we saw it, I'm just getting it, it was shared with us for last year.
Yep.
So I guess I'm asking, could it be shared with us for this year?
Just for that one, 31 AA?
I guess, yes.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
we don't have it yet.
okay.
We can tell you what we would like to try to
Or
do,
what we
but
guessed, or what we estimated
I
on.
think what he's saying is, do we have some kind of a,
Normally, if the
List of what
budget was
we're
done earlier, we
anticipating.
would. But remember, we had to create that, with dollar amounts and not exactly what the expenditures would be because it came so late.
And maybe it's a moot point, depending on what happens in the courts, but I would like to see that if we do have a special meeting on.
Yeah, that's no problem. Yeah, like I said, if you have a specific, we have thoughts right now of what we're thinking.
Sure.
That we're putting through, but we're like, if this and maybe and not,
I think it'd
that's
just
the
be
part.
helpful for me to answer questions in the community, since I'm on the finance committee, and I don't really know about the finances of what we're talking about, to be honest.
Well, I think in fairness though, between our delayed state budget and then trying to plan on, I think there's been a lot of confusion. So there's just been you can only budget on what you can try to assume from previous years, but then they change. I mean, this is all coming from the state too. So, I mean, for community members to hold us accountable when the state can't even figure it out, I mean, I think, I understand if we're going to make a decision based on something, that makes sense, but I think to dig down to that level when we haven't known.
At that point, though, I'm happy to give the thoughts on what we're thinking for the 31A and 31AA.
Perfect.
I think that's what you're looking
Yes.
for from that aspect.
Yes.
And,
Yeah.
and we're trying to debate that right now. And then, or do we go, hey, we're gonna ask you to give us more fund balance to be able to cover these things?
Right,
You know.
or you can ask
Right.
us for our input, maybe
Yeah.
if you want.
Yeah, yeah.
The challenge, so both 31A and AA are not grant applications where you actually say how you'd like to use the funds. It's a categorical number. And we won't get our at-risk final allocation till when, Sandy? August. So
We will not final
we
number.
typically will be very conservative on what we do with that. Most of it is staff, and as you know, we haven't laid any staff off. So that could potentially impact general fund if the allocation doesn't come through, but that's why we're very conservative. So if we get 1.2, 1.4, we might just allocate $1 million. We know sometimes that creates a carryover situation. The problem is if we don't know our allocation until after our books are closed, it creates.
Yeah, I get it, I get all that, I
Yeah.
guess I'm just, if we're gonna be asked to vote on to turn down
Yep.
$1 million,
That's
I'd
fair.
like to know what we're turning down.
Yeah,
As far as relates to people, because we're not talking about hardening buildings with this safety money.
No.
We're talking about people.
yep.
So I guess
And
And
just
again-
in past, and I don't know if this helps or doesn't help or whatever, but I mean, a specific instance had to do with like our Eastern, we had, or not just Eastern, but we had classrooms that had a lot of kids in them, and we got a lot of emails and conversations from the community, and so John came to the board individually, and I don't know if you were on the board or not on the board, but to say, hey, we're gonna have to pull from our fund balance if this is what you want to do, you have to make that decision.
I watched that, that was 4 days before school started last year, so I wasn't on the
Yeah.
board, but I'm aware of that.
Yeah.
And I think if that's where we're headed, and I get, we probably are with this deadline.
We are.
And it's a
Yeah.
strange way.
We're not, we didn't lay anybody off.
I know,
You know,
Yeah.
so we're having the staffing, it's just a matter of which shell pot it comes from.
Yeah.
That's
You
right.
know, and that's the reality, and so that's where, but, you know, that's why I kind of, as we've gotten into this, said, board, are you prepared that if, you know, that it'll be fund balance? You know, and I think the board's given me that direction, that, yeah, we're going to maintain what we have, you know, at least for this year, and then in a year, if we don't have it, we're gonna have to make a decision.
Right.
You know, but, you know, the reality is we don't have a lot more of anything. I think 31A is the one that, you know, we ended up a little bit, and so Dan and Jesse are taking a look at the thoughts right now of, okay, for some of the goals based on the strategic plan, what is it that we wanna try and invest in to be able to raise student achievement and do some
I
of
mean,
those
that's
things.
exactly where my thought
Exactly.
goes to.
Yep.
So it'd be
Yep.
it's gonna be a tough decision on the seven of us.
It will be.
If we-
It's a horrible decision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a horrible
The
decision.
people
And
part is,
it's always
the most.
after the school year started, which is just.
Yeah.
it's-
But-
the impact is great.
I think that,
Especially when you're talking about mental health, right?
this is why I was insistent on, like, we need to try and do something, you know, and I'm hopeful that the judge agrees.
Yeah.
So am I.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, district purchases, anything you wanna highlight for us?
Nope, I just wanted to make sure that you were aware of the change that'll be coming to the West Middle School renovation budget. Other than that, I don't really have any updates.
Okay. Well, thank you.
I have
Do
one
you have
last
something?
question, sorry, but
You're
and you don't need to
extending this
answer me
meeting.
now, you two, but I'm just curious, when we as a district or as a state started providing our elementary students with laptops? I'm just looking at March coming up here.
Does anybody know what year that was?
Has it been like 10 years, 20 years?
It's probably been almost 10.
God, I feel like I was.
Gotta be longer than that.
bored.
This is my 6th year.
Yeah,
I
And
think-
so, and I was just after COVID.
time flies.
I mean, the Chromebooks have been in the elementaries for a long time. They may not have been one-to-one, they might have
Yeah.
been shared on
Yes,
carts, but
yes.
they have been.
I can ask Evan.
I'm
I
just
bet it's-
curious.
Yeah, I bet,
You know what? We went 1-to-1 in COVID.
yeah.
It was 2020 or
Yes.
2021.
Yeah,
Because we needed to send them home with students
Yeah.
and we were barely scraping by with spares, so we decided to go to 1-1.
And the only
That's-
reason I ask, I mean, there's lots of national news around screens in classrooms. I'm just curious, and I get it, and we're not alone, and I'm sure we have one-to-one across the state, but I just,
Yeah.
as we look, 'cause that's a big investment coming up.
Yep.
so.
I mean, yeah, that's the weird thing of kind of COVID, it came out of it, that there was funding from the state to do that, you know, specifically, so.
There's so many more things than just a student working on it in a classroom. It helps with testing. I know our CKLA has some materials that students can do on their own at their level. So it has really evolved more than just accommodating for COVID, learning at home.
But you're right, there's a lot of conversations,
Yeah.
so we're talking about it,
Yep.
so.
It's coming up, and that's why I like that table.
All right. No more, we don't do second public comment, so I guess.
I have one more item if you would humor me for a second. So I just wanted to try to get some guidance on, so for central grade, we have talked in the past about evaluating AC. I'm looking for guidance on, we have had internal meetings to talk about multiple systems. We've met specifically with Keen Energy to get their feedback. And I'm trying to figure out what's the best process to bring this to the board for informational purpose? Do we start here? Do we just go to the full board? We're about ready to share that information and get some feedback from the board. We have cost estimates. We know what it'll cost now for installation. We know what it'll cost long-term.
I mean, I would say whatever, I mean, you know, having had this conversation of air conditioning on our second story buildings for a long time, you know, obviously the whole board to be included, so if it's easier just to bring it to the whole board, and that way you don't have to,
Do it twice.
yeah.
You know, 'cause
I know
we've got a couple different options for what that could look like, so, you know, that, and
Yeah,
just,
we have the cost of the options for installation, ongoing maintenance, how it affects the site, and budget.
Well, it
I mean,
seems to me there's three options. There's no AC, there's equipment that's adapted to be AC compatible, and then there's full AC, right?
Yeah, but there's multiple products, so we were asked to look at geothermal, and so, you know, some of those sustainability committee concerns and going all electric, like, we've been analyzing all of that, so I'd like to try to get in front of the board, and I didn't know if you wanted it to come here first to see if I had enough information before we went to the full board.
We can do it here if you want to get some initial impression on whether or not the questions are answered.
Are you comfortable with that?
I think this goes back to our being efficient with committee use, but I'm with Erica about a committee as a whole, and I know we don't like using ad hoc committees, but this seems like something as a committee of a whole, like, because this is a $15.5 million, this is a massive
Right.
project.
Yes.
So and that's where, if it would be helpful for the three of us to give you, but I would probably just kick it to the committee as a whole.
I mean, one of the rationales of subcommittees like finance is vetting some of this stuff. And if we see an obvious series of questions that don't have answers to them, at least you're aware of that before you take it to the board, and the board can assume that it's been vetted at least one stage.
and we generally do that. I think this is one of the unique ones, it's just, it's a BHAG, right? You know what I mean, like, everybody, you know, you're going to get input from different people's thoughts, I mean, on all of it. So I, in my mind, it is a full board, you know.
It's obviously a full board
It
discussion.
might even be, you know, with, between this, the central gym, it might even be a study session. I mean, just go through all of it. That way, the whole plan, all of it, maybe that's where the board, maybe it's something we bring up in January at the organizational meeting, how we might wanna go about that.
Yeah, I
Well, and
think,
in all honesty, I don't know that it just affects central grade, right? Because we've also talked about our other buildings that have set 2 stories. And what is, you know, I mean, like, if you're gonna do it for central grade, then it's probably gonna affect Montessori and Eastern.
Well, and that's a decision for the future, like,
Yeah.
again, maybe the next
And that's
bond
the
planning of what do you
beginning
wanna
conversation
start
with
to
new
do?
bond.
But that's what I mean on it, like, yes, it's a central grade conversation and that's great, but I think it's also gonna trigger conversations about our other buildings and.
It will, and you know, and again, standard, you know, of like, you know, how you wanna do it, I mean, all those kind of things, so at least you get some kind of thoughts of, yes, in the future, when we do projects for any second or third story building, we wanna consider, or, you know, those kind of things, so it's.
And I'll have a lot of operational recommendations, and I'd like to ask the board to consider a policy with set points if we have a lot of AC. We really struggle sometimes when we have an area that has AC. We used to have board policy with set points that were like 74. but we'll still get requests for people at 72 that are hot and they want us to come deal with it, and we don't currently have a policy with set point. It was just kind of one of those things that as we went through this big change of policy that we didn't spend time on, and I'd like to talk about that. Because it does become a challenge trying to meet every individual's need versus having a standard of, look, if it's at least 74 degrees, we're not gonna come and address that for individual people. So those are things still part of sustainability too. Like at some point, how much are we gonna spend on comfort and individual comfort?
Well, and I'd be curious too, didn't we pilot at Eastern this past
Yeah.
fall? And so it'd be interesting just to hear some feedback on, you know, how often, how long, how much, what were the cost, you know, and not that I.
That was the purpose.
And
Yeah.
not to, that
Yeah.
me as a board member needs to dig into that level, but just interesting when you start to think about those portable units, you know, efficiencies and things like that, so, and again, individual comfort.
It's gonna be a really important conversation for the next bond when we start talking about when to do that.
Well,
'cause
and
that-
I would be prepared, it's ultimately a curriculum question too, because one of the reasons, maybe I'm an old guy, but one of the reasons I've always thought about air conditioning compatibility is if you want to go to year-round schooling, it's very difficult to hold school in the summertime. Not saying we're going to, but if we want to, we've got to have buildings that will accommodate it.
And so the question is, like, are the portable units suffice? Is it something in the future the board wants to try and set a standard for? You know, is that geothermal? Is that regular air conditioning? Like, those are all the kind of pieces that we said when we got to central grade,
Yeah,
we would, you know, hash out.
Yeah.
You know?
well, and if you think it's better in a study session, I mean, I'll leave up to you guys, I mean,
Well,
right?
I
If that-
just,
mean,
I wonder too, like what is the board going to want to see to be able to, now that we have information, there's not gonna be a whole lot of time for decision making, and so do I need to bring people in for presentations? Do I need to bring all the consultants we talked to share it
Well,
themselves?
this is my point, to see, like, for the board to even see the whole central grade plan.
Yeah.
Like, there are a couple that were on the committee, but I kind of feel like, you know, like, it might be best in like
Yeah.
February, March, you know, somewhere in there, to just take a, I don't know, Saturday morning and just go through the whole thing, you know, and so that the board can see the whole enchilada, you know?
I would love that.
Yeah, I
I
think
mean-
it's a study session. I really do, because one of the things I don't wanna have happen is be 4 years down the road, we decide we wanna go to at least pilot year-round schooling and find out that central grade school isn't compatible, and now it's another $10 million to retrofit.
And that's what I want board members to be able to ask. I think it'd be good to have the engineers, you know, and architects here and be able to answer all those kind of questions, and just trying to do that in a regular board meeting. We all know that gets tight and it gets long, it gets late, you know, and that's why I feel like it might be best to, like I said, take like a Saturday morning or a Friday morning or something and just go through central grade and have conversations.
All right,
That's
So
another
my
budget item.
ask of board members is, in January, when we talk about meetings and set the calendar, I think this, that first study session that we generally kind of plan like for, I think this would be a great one for the first one, but
I think so
They're your
too,
meeting,
especially
so
if you need
run with that.
fairly
Yeah,
quick answers.
and the sooner the better, just because we
Yeah.
can react to it faster. And budget is a concern with that, I mean, I only had 50 set aside in the original and I'm at 55 and I'm pushing it, they're still higher than that right now with their budget, so we're making decisions along the way.
All right, we are at the end of another finance and operations meeting.
I move to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye,
Opposed? Have a good day.
thank you.